Now at 6, watching and waiting. Ballot counting continues at a furious pace in key battleground states. The vastly different views from both campaigns on what's happened so far as Americans watch the numbers. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Natalie Pasquarella.
And I'm Chuck Scarborough. An anxious nation awaits presidential election results almost 2 full days after the polls closed in our area. As of now, by NBC News calculations, Joe Biden has 253 electoral votes, 17 shy of the 270 needed for victory. President Trump has 214. The presidency hinging on the outcome in 5 battleground states with razor-thin margins and votes still being counted. And the results in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, and Nevada could face challenges and calls for recounts.
And regardless of the results, it will be very thin, as you said. Right now, just over 250,000 votes separating the candidates. In Georgia, less than 10,000 ballots separate the candidates. In Nevada, officials are warning they might not have a final number until this weekend. These are the votes that have been already counted so far. Let's get to our team coverage from both campaigns, including the legal battle playing out. Let me get out to News 4's Melissa Russo live in Washington, D.C., covering the Trump campaign. I understand, Melissa, we just found out we're expected to hear from the president soon.
Yes, Natalie, we've just learned that the president is planning to speak at 6:30. The president is said to be in a frustrated and angry mood, according to sources of Kelly O'Donnell's. They're telling her that his aides had been trying to keep him off television because they were afraid that his message or his tone wouldn't be quite right. But back to those legal challenges. The Trump campaign late this afternoon went back to court in Philadelphia to ask a federal judge to stop the counting there. They are claiming that the local election officials in Philadelphia are failing to follow an earlier court order that would allow Republican observers to be 6 feet away instead of 20 feet away from the ballot counting tables.
President Trump hoping to carve out a path to victory, plotting a flurry of lawsuits to stop the counting in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nevada.
Ballots are not automatically legal votes until they're checked. We are not being allowed to check.
In Nevada, Trump plans a federal lawsuit claiming as many as 10,000 non-residents have voted. That number is about the size of Biden's lead.
We firmly believe that there are many voters in this group of mail-in people that are not proper voters.
We are not aware of any improper ballots that are being processed.
Trump campaign officials also pushing back in Arizona, which has been called for Biden by some news organizations, but not others, including NBC.
Only about 73% in when they called this race. So we're here to make sure every vote is counted. We're here to make sure that Arizona is delivered for President Trump for his reelection, and it is going to be.
Give us access! But on both sides today, serious concerns. Protesters gathering outside a Philadelphia counting center, forced to pause its work temporarily this afternoon because of a legal challenge. The Trump campaign claiming they should have better access to watch the ballot counting there. So far, the mail-in ballots are trending strongly for Biden, rapidly eroding the president's narrow Pennsylvania lead. On Twitter, President Trump demanding stop the count. Several other tweets claiming fraud were flagged as potentially misleading.
Another flagged tweet comes from Donald Trump Jr. today. It says, quote, "The best thing for America's future is for Donald Trump to go to total war over this election, to expose all of the fraud." Donald Trump Jr. Took down that tweet after it was flagged by Twitter a couple of times, and now he's complaining on Twitter about censorship by the social media platform. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, the Secretary of State there just wrapped up a news conference saying there's been no fraud, no double voting, only counting. She says there were a few 100,000 votes, mail-in ballots left to be counted in that state, and that we should have a better idea of who the winner is maybe by tomorrow. That's the latest. Live outside the White House, Melissa Russo, News 4 New York.
All right, Melissa, thank you. You mentioned that President Trump's going to speak around 6:30. Well, just over an hour ago, we heard from Joe Biden for the first time today. In a brief appearance, it lasted about 2 minutes. He urged calm and patience. He said he had no doubt that he and Kamala Harris will win the election. News 4's Andrew Siff is following the Biden campaign. He continues our team coverage now from Wilmington, Delaware. Andrew.
That's right, Chuck. And Joe Biden has really been doing two things today. He's been monitoring the election returns with his campaign staff, and also he's been trying to project that he's getting down to work. We'll show you. He went to this building. It was a former restored theater. It's in downtown Wilmington, Delaware. And he and Kamala Harris went there. There are high-tech screens. They're able to get briefings on a variety of subjects. Today they were briefed on the COVID pandemic and also the economy. And then on the subject of the election, Joe Biden continuing to preach both patience but also strong confidence.
And we continue to feel, Senator and I, we continue to feel very good about where things stand. We have no doubt that when the count is finished, Senator Harris and I will be declared the winners. So I ask everyone to stay calm, all the people to stay calm. The process is working. The count is being completed, and we'll know very soon.
Now, where I'm standing now, which is the Chase Center in downtown Wilmington, this is the same spot where Joe Biden claimed the Democratic nomination about 3 months ago at the convention. And they've got sort of a drive-in set up with dozens of cars planned for supporters at the moment or shortly thereafter that Joe Biden goes over that 270 threshold that they're anticipating. When that happens, the Biden campaign doesn't know any more than we do. It's just something that they're anticipating soon, today, tomorrow, maybe this weekend. We're live in Wilmington. Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
All right, Andrew, thank you for that report. We want to get to some breaking news just coming in of a large protest happening right now. It's formed right outside of the Stonewall Inn. We understand protesters are calling for protecting the election, similar to what we saw at this time last night. If you haven't seen that video yet, here's a look. I want to show you the video from 24 hours ago. There it is from the air. Also some shots from the ground of a massive demonstration. Started out peaceful until a few hours later it ended with dozens of arrests there. News 4's Mark Santia live in the West Village with the NYPD's plan if more protests do break out tonight, like what we're seeing happening now, Mark.
Yeah, Natalie, last night, this corner, this is where police and protesters clashed. A violent end to what started as a peaceful night. Chanting, carrying signs, organized. As darkness swept over Manhattan, demonstrators peacefully marched down Fifth Avenue, demanding every vote count. After reaching Washington Square Park, groups went their separate ways, and for some, violence followed. You're all Here in the West Village, a woman arrested for spitting in the face of a cop. Divine Singh hit with disorderly conduct and other charges.
We saw people with intent on disrupting peaceful protesters, intent of destruction. The small number of individuals have no regard for the safety of the peaceful protesters.
The NYPD holding a press conference a short time ago following a night of violence. A Biden sign burned, fires set, nearly 50 people arrested. Police say some weapons were recovered.
Who brings a knife and a hammer and flammable liquids when they in fact start fires to a peaceful protest?
The show of force by police drawing criticism on social media today. Protesters saying the NYPD used a technique called kettling to restrict their movement, confine and arrest them when they were just exercising their right to free speech. Police say protesters are using laser pointers to blind cops and techniques to create videos showing what appears to be over-aggressive officers.
We hope it doesn't come to an arrest. We would like nothing more than everyone come out, exercise your freedom of speech, protest whatever your cause is, and then go home peacefully.
You're taking a live look right now from Chopper 4. This is near the Stonewall Inn. You can see a growing group of protesters there. There is also a large police presence there. The SRG, NYPD's Strategic Response Group, is outside keeping an eye on this. We've seen police on bicycles, police on scooters, motorcycles out there. Talked to police sources just a short time ago. They tell us there are no issues. There have been no issues at that gathering there near the Stonewall Inn. We're live in the West Village. I'm Mark Santia, News 4 New York.
All right, Mark, thank you. And we will, of course, continue to follow the latest on the election and the ballot counting going on throughout the country, as well as the protests here closer to home. For the latest, head over to NBCNewYork.com or get our breaking push alerts. Those will go right to your phone if you download our NBC4 New York app.